Kia ora tātou, welcome back to the Wargaming Den. This week's little game, I'm actually just doing a bit of a play test of the O group rules. I popped around to a local player called Keith's house last Saturday, and him and another Craig were busy having a game of O group and 15mm, so thought I would give it a go in 20mm, just to try and get a hang of the basic concepts before I get round to having a proper game against Keith in 15mm. So I've painted up some 20mm figures for Battle Group over the last few weeks, so I've just put them together to make two companies for Battle Group. Haven't quite got enough to make a full 3-company battalion yet, but wanted to just do a bit of a trial game using two worn battalions. So I've got 2 companies of infantry, got a HQ with an observer and some off-board mortars, a medium machine gun, a Vickers 6-pounder, armoured car and a couple of Cromwells. So just wanted to try and get a feel for all the different units, and the German force is pretty much a mirror of the British. So again, HQ with mortars, 2 rifle companies, medium machine gun section, and they've got a Pack 40 and a couple of Stugs. So rather than playing an attacker defender type scenario, I've just given myself a little game using a meeting engagement just to get a handle on the rules. So there's a few different concepts in Battle Group than other games I've played. Just did a basic meeting engagement, both sides moving onto the table just to keep things easy. Now the Germans started at the bottom of the table. They wanted to capture this building here and this ruin here. They were their 2 objectives. The British objectives are yellow, this building here and this building here. Now, one of the concepts in O Group is that each company needs to keep to its own sector and can't cross into the neighbouring company's sector. You deploy combat patrols that move forward and deny the enemy terrain, and they can be used as springboards to deploy units in the game as well. So there's a lot of scouting. You can bluff, you can make it look like you're going to be concentrating on one area of the board and actually you later on deploy in another. So there's some quite interesting concepts in the game. So to keep things simple, the British use the edge of this wood here to the road as their company boundary, so A company on one side, B on the other, and the Germans use this hedge line as their 2 company sectors, so first company and second company. So again, just trying to keep things simple, just trying to get a handle on the basic concepts of the game. Now, O Group's a bit different to any other game that I've played before, so there's a few interesting concepts and mechanics in there that I was getting my head around. One of the first ones is initial battalion deployment. I just roll to see who got which side. Then we roll 9 dice and figure out which orders we get. So the red dice are the Germans, so they scored 2 1s, which mean no deployment or anything. These dice here means that the Germans get 4 patrols, and these 3 dice they get to deploy 3 units on the table. The British actually almost mirrored the Germans. They got 3 units on table, 4 of the combat patrols and 2 dice. It didn't count because it was a meeting engagement. So these combat patrols get deployed in your objective zone, and they move out and kind of sneak forward and do lots of different things. But kind of to recreate a bit of a fog of war, you can use them to deploy units later in the game. You can kind of use them to try and bluff your opponents as well. So it's quite an interesting concept, and interested to see how it works in the game. Sorry, the image is a wee bit blurry, but here we have the Germans' first turn. One of the companies ended up being hesitant, so they couldn't actually move. They deployed a section here, the reconnaissance car here. That's one of the combat patrols. That's the other combat patrol. So none of them could actually move on the first turn. There's a forward observer. That's just the battalion HQ. The section that had been in here moved forward. Combat patrols stayed still. Oh, sorry. I think I actually put down another combat patrol. I think that could be there. One combat patrol moved forward here. The other one moved forward here. So not a great deal of action from the Germans first turn. Okay, not a great deal of action. Turn one, British got 6 company commander order dice, so they push forward their patrols out wide there. One in behind there in the hedge or the fields, and the armoured car over there. Infantry advancing on to turn number 2. Orders for turn 2. Germans are up to 6 battalion orders. They got 2 battalion orders there and 6 regular orders. And the British over here, they got 7 plus 1 for getting initiative, gives them 8 company orders, and they're up to 7 battalions. So lots of options for the British this turn. Right, first firing. So the British platoon with the attached medium machine gun, company commander gave it a second order. It occupied its objective there and it fired on the German squad in the open here. So with the medium machine gun rerolls, it got 4 hits. Germans failed 3 saves, but they passed 1. So what that means is it took 2 suppression, and the third hit counted as a chance to roll to see if I kill a section, and the British rolled a 5, so indeed one of the German sections is removed and they are suppressed. I'm not sure what the actual term is. Okay, so here we go. That British section had advanced into this building, used the company commander's order to give it a second order, and it fired on there, did a casualty. Over here, the German combat patrol, my reconnaissance half track, managed to force them away, and some kind of reconnaissance rule thing, and they pushed them out of there, and they had to go back to HQ. The other combat patrol moved up here. It was outside of 8, and it deployed another British infantry section here. So the British infantry are here and here, and move the forward observer forward. Last dice order of the turn, the Cromwells came on here as well to cover that advance. The other company, not a great deal of action. This section advanced and occupied this building here, was probably the main thing, and that was from one of the combat patrols occupied it, and then the infantry. So the British are up to the line of the road here, and they've captured one of their initial objectives, and that building there is the other one. So they're in a pretty good position at the end of their turn 2. Right, Germans turn 2. So pushed up, combat patrol there, another combat patrol pushed up there. The observer had tried to range in on the British in that building there, but failed, rolled a 5. Didn't manage to withdraw those infantry. They've done that as a reaction. Success with the Stugs though.
they managed to put 1 damage on the Cromwell. Both hit versus obscured, double 1 for one of them, and the other one ended up about a 5, so a second or third shock, which then became a damage. So successful shooting from the Germans on to turn 3. Okay, so turn 3. The Germans get in a hesitant company, as do the British. Pretty abysmal dice rolling, and it is everyone on the right hand side of the table as we're looking at it. So this German company is hesitant, and the British company across from it is hesitant too, though they have captured the objective. And the British got initiative this turn as well.
Okay, so this side, not a lot the British could do because they were hesitant. The Cromwell did manage to rally and get rid of the 2 shock at the end of the British turn. What I did do though is I managed to use my battalion mortars to drop smoke in front of the stugs so that they couldn't really shoot at anything. Infantry here in this building fired at those infantry that had failed to withdraw, managed to kill another stand. Over here, these infantry advanced into this building, so captured their second objective. Another infantry section advanced through this wooded area, and both these 2 sections fired on this German section here, managed to put 1 shock onto it, and that was about it. So not a great deal of action, but the British had captured both of their initial objectives at this point. Not a lot the Germans could do in response. One of their combat patrols advanced here. These guys then deployed. They've got an attached medium machine gun. They opened fire on the British here. The British maybe got 1 shock or 2 shock on them. They managed to pass most of their saves. These infantry also tried to shoot at the British in that building as well. That German guy there, these guys probably shouldn't have got quite that close. Need to figure out those rules, what the combat patrol does after that. So not a great deal of action on turn 3 due to the fact that 2 companies became hesitant. But that's where I decided to end my little playtest. Right, so what were my thoughts on O Group? I kind of like the way it played, actually. That game took me probably 3 hours. I was reading the rules, trying to figure out things, going back, checking, trying to figure out how the shooting worked, trying to figure out artillery, trying to figure out combat patrols and stuff. So the basic concepts are pretty easy. You either need a 3 or a 4 to hit. In most situations, there's a few modifiers and off you go. But it's things like the combat patrols and things. Really, actually quite enjoyed the way that the combat patrols mechanism works. You can kind of use it to deny your opponent of ground. You can use it as jumping off points for attacks and things. The interactions, it's an I go, you go, but because you can react during your opponent's turn using your order dice, that adds an interesting dynamic to make it a much more fluid game. But at the same time, you're also needing to be aware of how many order dice you have. I didn't really tap into the battalion command dice at all, and given that I was 1 company short for both sides, probably had a few too many orders, maybe. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, deciding what to use your orders dice for when is part of the game within a game. The shooting and things, there's a wee bit of dice rolling. rolling to hit and to see whether it's an open shot or obscured. That all happens in one dice roll, but then you roll another dice to save and things. I know that's a kind of a common mechanic, but just wondering whether or not that could be speeded up. The guns, anti-tank fire versus the class of tank and armor of the tank and stuff, that seems reasonable. Stugs versus Cromwell's pretty balanced there. And the Cromwells didn't actually get to shoot back, so I didn't get to try out the British guns in response. But yeah, that seemed okay. Definitely enjoyed my first game of 20mm gaming using my own figures and pulling out some of my terrain that hasn't seen the light of day in a decade or so. So that was really good, and definitely think that this rule set's got a lot of promise. Hoping to have a game against Keith in 15mm. As I said before, I much prefer painting 20mm to 15, but that's what the guys are gaming. I will get a couple of forces together to be able to game with against them using 15mm. But yeah, really happy with the way that these 20mm armies are looking. Really enjoying putting together the tanks and stuff, and it's been quite an enjoyable little project, and it's not over yet. So I've got enough British to build a third company. I'm just waiting for some bases to arrive, and probably need to get another company of Germans, so I can field a battalion. And I'm looking at the AB Fallschirmjäger. Always been a fan of Fallschirmjäger forces, and think that may be where I'm heading to next. But anyway, I'm starting to ramble as per usual. Hope you've enjoyed this little solo playtest of O Group. Hope to have a game against Keith in the not too distant future, playing the actual game and hopefully recording it and getting a report. But yeah, that's all for today. Hope you've enjoyed that. Have a great week. Until next time, ka kite anō. Take care. See you next time.